Hello students. Today we're going to talk about subtracting integers. Now don't pay any attention to the date at the top. We were supposed to do this on Friday, August the 19th, but it just didn't happen. So we're doing it on Thursday. Okay, so here we go. Today we're going to talk about subtracting integers. So remember, in your daily notebook, you should have your date at the top. So in this particular one, it's going to be 8/24. 2022 or August 24 or whatever you want to call it. However you want to do your date, it's strictly up to you. Okay, and then remember, we put the objective in the objective, and today's objective is subtract integers. Okay, and then we do our warm-up. Okay, now we'll come back and do the warm-up in just a few minutes. We'll do one question off the warm-up, but during these videos I'm not going to be doing the warm-up. So you'll answer this warm-up, and then we're going to move into our lesson. Okay, so on this lesson, we got to remember that integers are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. Okay, so the other day when we were doing addition, we went back and reviewed opposites, and that means that they're two numbers that are on different sides of zero, but they're the same distance away from zero. And we talked about absolute value, and absolute value is the distance a number is zero, and distance is always positive. So in the last lesson that we did, before we did the iReady, was we did adding integers, and we found out that to add integers, there were two basic rules. If your signs are alike, you add your numbers and keep the sign of the problem. If your signs are different, you're going to subtract your numbers and take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. And that's the reason why we had to understand absolute value. So I do want to go back and work one warm-up question to make sure that we understand what to do with addition. Now, I need you to understand, when we're talking about addition of integers, there's going to be a plus sign in the middle every single time. Plus, 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 and so on and so forth. So that's what we're talking about by addition. Okay, it's got to have a plus sign in the middle. So what we do with addition, okay, is if we have a big set of problems or a big set of numbers like this problem right here, you're going to start by collecting all of one of the signs of numbers. So what I do is I look at this very first number, and whatever sign that happens to be, that's the things I'm going to put together. So in this one right here, I've got -8, and then I'm going to put together with that a -12, and then a -9, and then a -5. Okay, so I know 8 and 12 are going to make -20, plus -9 is going to make -29, plus -5 is going to make -34. So I've got -34 for my negatives. Now you could cross all those out if you wanted to. It's perfectly fine. Now you could go straight across with all those numbers. I just don't encourage that because it's much harder to do. So now I'm going to come through and I'm going to pick up all my positives. Okay, so I've got a +6, I got a +8, and I got another +6. Okay, so 6, and I'm going to put the 6 and the 6 together to give me 12, plus 8 more is going to give me 20. Okay, so now if we were to look back at our rules, it says if our signs are different, okay, and in this particular case, my signs are different. One's negative, one's positive. I'm going to subtract my numbers, subtract the numbers. We're not going to do a subtraction problem. We're going to subtract our numbers and take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. So in this case right here, I'm going to take the 34, which has got the greater absolute value, and I'm going to subtract 20 from it, and I'm going to get 14. Okay, now, what kind of sign is on that 14? Well, if you look at this, I've got 34 negatives, I got 20 positives. Those 20 positives are going to zap out 20 of those negatives, and I'm going to have 14 of those negatives left. And that's how we do addition. Okay, so today what we're going to be focusing on is subtraction. Okay, so here are our first subtraction problems. Now, subtraction means something different than addition. If you remember correctly, addition meant that we would take our positives and our negatives and shove them together. Okay? And for every positive and negative that I had, that would make a zero pair. Well, subtraction is a little different. If addition means put together, what does subtraction mean? It means to take apart or to take away. So we're going to see if we can model these questions right here using those two color counters. But instead of doing the two color counters, I'm just going to do plus and minus. So in this first problem right here, it says I've got 7 pluses. And it says I'm going to take away 3 of them. So I take away 3, which means to erase or to throw away. And what do we have as our answer? We have a 4. What kind of 4 do we have? We have a positive 4 because I've got 4 positives left. Okay. Now the next question says I've got 6 negatives. And it says I'm going to take away 3 of those. So I take away 3 of those. What do I have left? I have a -3 left because there's 3 negatives left. Okay. So pretty easy so far. So let's do this next one. This next one says I've got 7 positives. And I'm going to take away 4 negatives. Does anybody see a problem? I don't have any negatives to take away. So the one thing that I need you to understand is there is one number that I could always add into a problem that never changes the value of the problem, and that's going to be a 0 pair. So I could add a 0 pair in, and I could add another 0 pair, and I could add as many 0 pairs as I wanted to, and it doesn't change the value of the problem. So right there, the 7 pluses, the 4 pluses, and the 4 minuses, it's still equal to 7. But what do you notice I can now take away in the problem? I can now take away 4 negatives. So if I did just that 7 take away negative 4, the value of that is 11. Now I've got to take away 5 more. I got to take away 5 positives now. Okay, because that says take away 5 positives. So I could take away 5 positives. There's 4, there's 1. What do I have left? I've got 6 positives left. And that's the answer to that problem. Okay? Now what we have to do today is we've got to determine what are some rules that I can use in order to do this subtraction. Well, hopefully what you learned from last year is that with subtraction, there's just a simple little rule. And the rule is change the subtraction sign to addition, and then change the next number to its opposite, and then go back to your add rules. So let's take a look at these 6 questions again using that rule. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So 7 take away 3. Well, this one says I'm going to change subtraction to addition, next number to its opposite, and then I go back to my addition rules. My signs alike, are they different? They're different, so what are we going to do with our numbers? We're going to subtract, and we get 4. Okay, works. Okay, so the next one, I go straight to where it says subtraction, so I'm going to change subtraction to addition. Whatever the next number is, I'm going to change it to its opposite. So negative 6 plus positive 3. My signs, again, are different, so I'm going to subtract my numbers. 6 take away 3 gives me 3. And who's got more? Which one of those numbers has the greatest absolute value? The negative, so it's a negative 3. Now, when we have multiple numbers and multiple subtraction signs, we're going to change every subtraction sign. So I'm going to go straight to this subtraction sign, change it, and the next number, I'm going to change it to its opposite. I'm going to go to this next subtraction sign, I'm going to change it to addition, and I'm going to change the very next number to its opposite. So now what I really have is 7 plus 4 plus negative 5. So that means I can take the 7 and the 4 and put those together. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then take away 5, that's going to give me 6, which is exactly the same answer that we came up with a few minutes ago. And that's what we're going to do with subtraction. So our rule is change the subtraction sign to the addition sign, and then whatever the next number is, we're going to change it to its opposite. So in the example that I have here, I've got 9 minus negative 4. So that's going to turn into 9. I'm going to take that minus and I'm going to change it to a plus. And then that negative 4 is going to turn into a positive 4. And then we do our answer. And then we go back to the addition rules because our problem is now addition. Okay, so let's look at just a couple more examples real quick to make sure that we understand what we're doing. Okay, so here is our first additional example. We're going to do 12 minus 8. Now let me ask you something. 12 minus 8. Have you always been able to do 12 minus 8? You have, haven't you? I got 12, I take away 8, what do I end up with? You end up with 4. Now, could we do our rule? Keep the first number the same, leave it alone, go to that subtraction sign, change that subtraction to addition, and the next number to its opposite. So that 8 becomes a negative. And then we go back to our addition rules. Signs are different, so that means I subtract my numbers, and I still get 12 minus 8 is 4. What kind of 4 is it going to be? It's going to be positive because the 12 has a greater absolute value. Works every time. Let's try another one. What about negative 6 minus negative 10? Now, could I do that one? This one basically says I've got 6 negatives, and I need to take away 10 of them. Do I have 10 negatives to take away? I do not. So this is where the rule, we have to use it, okay? This is where that rule comes in handy. So I'm going to go to that straight to that subtraction sign. I'm going to change that subtraction sign to addition, and I'm going to change the next number, which was a negative 10. I'm going to change it to a positive 10, and then I'm going to go back to my addition rules. My signs are alike, or are they different? In this case, they're different because I got a negative here and I got a positive here. So I'm going to subtract my numbers. Now, which number am I going to put first in that subtraction? The 10, because it's got the greater absolute value. So I'm going to go 10, take away 6, which is going to give me a 4. Now, which one of those two numbers, the negative 6 or the positive 10, has the greater absolute value? Positive. So that my answer is going to be a positive 4. Okay, now what about this one? 5 minus 9. Okay, 5 minus 9. Okay, so on this one, if I had 5, could I take away 9? No, I could not. So I changed subtraction to addition, next to its opposite. And now I go back to my addition rules. Signs are different, so I subtract. 9 take away 5 gives you 4. Now, what kind of 4 is it going to be this time? This time, since my 9 is farthest away from 0, it's got the greater absolute value, it's going to be a negative 4. And obviously, in all those examples, I like the number 4. Okay? Now, let's do one last question. Let me erase this screen real quick. And one last one. What if I gave you something like this? This is a fun problem here. So 3 minus negative 2 minus 4 minus negative 8 minus negative 3 minus 6. What if I gave you something like that? Oh, my goodness. Well, in this one, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the subtraction problems. Okay, so I see a subtraction problem right here. So I'm going to change that subtraction to addition, next number to its opposite. I see another subtraction problem right here, so I'm going to change this to addition. The 4 is going to turn to a negative. I see another one right here, so here's change that subtraction to addition. The 8 turns positive. Oh, here's another one right here, so I'm going to change this subtraction to addition. The negative 3 becomes a positive 3. Okay, so I got one last subtraction, so that subtraction turns to addition. The 6 turns negative. Now we go back to the same thing that we did on this problem earlier, like this one right here. Take all your negatives and put them together. Take all your positives and put them together, and then do one subtraction problem at the end. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So here's our problem. So I'm going to start with this 3, and it's positive, so I'm going to start with all my positive numbers. So that means I got a positive 3, I got a positive 2, I got a positive 8, and I got a positive 3. So those are the numbers I'm going to put together. So 3 and 2 make 5, plus 8 is going to give me 13, plus 3 more is going to give me 16. So I've got 16. So all my positives are gone. So now I'm going to do my negatives. I got a negative 4 and a negative 6, which is going to make negative 10. And it's all addition right now. So now I'm going to do one subtraction problem. I'm going to subtract my numbers. It's not going to be a subtraction problem, but that's what we do when our signs are different. So 16 take away 10 gives me 6. And what kind of a 6 is that going to be? It's going to be a positive 6 because the 16 is farthest from 0. So for subtraction, what I need you to think about, I need you to remember, is all we're going to do. We're going to go straight to that subtraction sign. We're going to change the subtraction to addition, next number to its opposite, and then we fall back on our addition rules. Let's do one more question, and then we'll end this video. Let's actually do 2 more. Let's do these last 2 questions right here on this page. This one and this one, okay? So what I'd like for you to do, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to work this first problem by yourself. And then in just a few moments, we'll come back and we'll talk about the answer to that one. Okay, so let's find out how you did on this question. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the first subtraction that I see. That's right here. And I'm going to change that subtraction to addition, and that 12 is going to become a positive because it was negative. Oh, I see another subtraction sign, so I'm going to change that subtraction to addition. The 8 is going to turn negative. Oh, I see one more subtraction sign, so I'm going to change it to addition, and the 14 turns positive. Now, just like on the 2 previous problems, I'm going to go back and I'm going to collect all my positives and negatives. Now, in this particular one, since my negative 7 comes first, I'm going to collect my negatives. Okay, so I'm going to collect a negative 7 and a negative 8. When I put those together, I'm going to end up with, negative 15 plus, and then I come through and I pick up my 12 and my 14 because they're both positive. I end up with positive 26. And now I do one subtraction problem. Negative 15 plus positive 26. My signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. 26 take away 15. I'm going to get 11. What kind of an 11 is that going to be? Positive. Just like that. Now, let's do this one last one. Now, this one last one, what do you notice about it? There's a plus in it. Now, what do we do with plus? Nothing. We leave it alone. That's what we want. We want them to be addition. Okay, so we're going to go straight to the subtraction, change subtraction to addition, next to its opposite. Straight to subtraction, change the next number to its opposite. So we now end up with 18 plus 4 plus negative 8 plus 13. So I can take this 18 and this 4 and put it together to get 22. And then add that together with this 13. So let's see, 22 and 13 is going to be, what, 35 plus -8. And now we do one subtraction problem because my signs are different. 35 take away 8 is going to give me 27. And what kind of a 27 will that be? Positive, because the 35's got more. So what I need you to remember about subtraction is all you got to do, you go straight to the subtraction sign, you change subtraction to addition, next number to its opposite, and then you go back to your addition rules. And we know our addition rules are, if your signs are alike, you add and keep the sign of the problem. If your signs are different, you're going to subtract and take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. So what you're going to do is a little assignment just like we did with addition. It's just now you're going to be doing subtraction. So if you take the first question, even though you could probably do 16 minus 14, I hope you could, I want you to use the rules on every single question. So we got 16 minus 14. I'm going to go straight to that subtraction. I'm going to change it to addition. That 14 I'm going to change to its opposite. And we're going to come up with 16 take away 14 because our signs are different. We end up with 2. It's going to be a positive 2 because the 16's got more. Okay, now the last question is a word problem, so please make sure you put a label on your answer. So until next time, I'll talk to you later.